and everything you've done for us and helped with, and knowing there's friends and family back home praying for us. That was really, really great. Probably one of the hardest things was dealing with the little people. They make things fun. So, yeah. Yeah. Is that better? Okay. Well, we have a few pictures, and I know you guys have some questions, so I'll try to make it kind of quick and point out some of the main things, and then you guys can ask whatever you want, whenever you want. It doesn't have to be at the end. So can you show us the first slide, Caleb? This is John Hanson and his wife, Grace Ella, and their granddaughter, John Ella. And they are the ones that gave my dad the land there to build a house on. So they have a garden nearby. We saw them quite often, and they're really cool people. Basically our neighbors. Next slide. So there was a few. Basically, something happened to all of us while we were there. Caitlin got bit by a centipede while shaking a rug out. They're everywhere, and they have fangs. It's kind of hard to see there, but they have fangs at the sides of their heads. They're kind of like jaws, and a full-size one can put a man down for a few weeks. So it was probably a smaller one that got Caitlin, and we brought a little electric bug, sting zapper thing, and so she used that quite a bit, and it healed quickly, thank God. And Cheyenne got pinched by a coconut crab. It grabbed her finger. Mom and Dad found a couple in town one day, and they brought them back for a special dinner because we had never had it before. And Cheyenne decided to go poking at them, thinking they were dead, but they weren't. And so one grabbed her finger, and they're called a coconut crab because they can quite literally rip a coconut apart and get inside it to eat it. And so it's not uncommon for them to take people's fingers off. And so I think God worked a miracle in that because it didn't take her finger off and it didn't break it. They get pretty big, and the ones that they got and brought home, they were medium size, so that's probably a good thing. But their claws are really big, and they have almost like teeth, sharp little teeth on the inside of their claws. Very strong. It was good. Honestly, it wasn't as good as I thought it'd be. But it also took about 2 hours to bust them apart and get all the meat out, so they're really strong. Yeah, they taste coconutty. Yep. That's what they eat, so. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, they can rip the husk off and get into the hard shell of the coconut. They are amazingly strong. Yeah. It probably took 5 minutes to get the finger out. We had to get pliers and screwdrivers and pry the claw apart. It was quite traumatizing. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. So this slide was just to show we all had something. I got bit by a dog. I've never got bit by a dog. Dogs usually like me, but we were doing one of the children's programs at one of the schools nearby. And one of the songs we were singing is Jumping Up and Down. And as I was jumping up and down, a dog ran up and bit me in the ankle. And yeah, we had a few different infections that we had to battle, get antibiotics. But those were a few of the harder things. Next slide, Caleb. The girls enjoyed lizards and geckos. They're everywhere. So almost every night the girls were asking to go gecko hunting. You know, they're crawling around everywhere getting moths and whatnot. So we did that a lot. And that green lizard was one I caught really fast. Pretty cool. So, and the fruit, you know, there's a lot of fruit, but it was the off season for fruit. So things like pineapples and mangoes and whatnot, you know, they weren't there. But those were a few of the things the girls really enjoyed. Bananas and papayas outside every day.
They say bananas taste a lot different.
They're a lot better, yeah. Yeah, stuff that gets shipped here isn't usually as good. The girl's still enjoying. Oh, that's good. Next slide. So, as Caitlin mentioned, fishing, we went fishing probably 3 times. The boat Dad has there is just a little 16-foot lake boat from here that he took over there. And so it's pretty small for being on the ocean, but as long as the water was calm, it wasn't too bad. And the last time we went fishing was the best day, but the water was rough. It was windy. The waves were pretty big. And if you can see in that one picture, the blue cooler, it's a 400 or 500 liter cooler. It's pretty big. It's about 3 feet by 5 feet by 3 feet tall. And it was full of fish when we were coming back, and the waves were so great that it was catching air in the boat. But that day we probably got 300 pounds of fish, and we stuck them in a big freezer, froze them. And next slide, we took them, we gave them to lots of different people. So in that last picture, those Asian people are the people that run Santo Bush Mission, which is the mission that started lots of these schools and churches that are in the middle of the bush. And so we gave extra fish to the Asian people because they have the kids. They bring once in a while the kids to town that live out in the middle of nowhere, and they don't ever go to town, and they do kids clubs and stuff for them, so they take all the extra fish. But we also took frozen fish to all these different places that we went to and blessed the people. They were very excited to have some good food. And we took the kids with us most places, sometimes not all of them, but the kids enjoyed it, and the other kids enjoyed the little one and everyone else. But it was cool. So the one picture is a kids program. You know, some of the schools are smaller, some are bigger, but on average it was probably 50 kids or so. And most of them were able to learn the verse that we were teaching them. And all the prizes you guys donated and all that, they enjoyed it. They loved it. They got so excited. And I know they will remember that for the rest of their lives. And probably one of the things that I thought was really neat as a take home for all of this is one of the kids programs we did, it was about a month later, and there were some kids that came to the gate where we lived at the house, and they were playing. So we went out and played with them. And after a little while of talking to them, I realized that they were at the one school that we went to. And so I asked the one little boy, I said, "Do you remember what the verse was?" And without skipping a beat, he said, "Oh yeah, it was John 3:36," and he quoted it perfectly. And that was about a month later, so I thought that was really cool. Obviously, you know, I don't know how many, but the kids are going to remember the verse, and I trust the Lord will use His word in their lives. Next slide. So yeah, these are more pictures of the different places. This one on the left is Jeraleo Mission Field. It's Pastor Ulmark and his wife, and they call it a mission field. They are out there where there are different villages kind of nearby, but they're the only church for quite a ways. So they are working to go out to other villages and establish relations and, gather people to their church. And one of the things that you guys donated toward, we got his wife a guitar. She plays the guitar quite well. And we were able to bless them with a guitar and some different stuff for their church. And they have a little school there. And they were very excited for that. And I told them that back home we have a church family that, donated and bought this stuff for them and wanted to bless them. And they thought that was really cool. So you guys have been a blessing to a lot of people. Next slide. Another picture. This one is in Sele. This is the farthest you can get into the middle of the island by road. And the lady second in from the left is Miriam. And Caitlin befriended her. She's really sweet. She's good friends with Caitlin after the time we spent there. And she runs, this is again something that was established by Santo Bush Mission. They built a church, and then they built a little medical center, and it's a birthing center. So that lady, Miriam, runs the birthing center. And the first day we went and visited, there was a baby that had just been born that morning. And so again, we were able to bring them food and bless them and work with the kids, and really neat people that are in the middle of the island where things are, cut off from the outside culture. There's lots of people. We don't have a picture of one, but lots of the guys still wear nothing but a loincloth, and that's it. So that was good.
Also, Miriam had told me that the lady that we had met, who had just given birth, had walked for 4 days to get to the birthing center. So it's central for them, but she deals with women who live all around those mountains there. And a lot of them, don't wear tops because it's good that God is being shared there because
Yeah.
a lot of marital stuff too. Like the men will usually get a woman pregnant once or twice and then leave for a younger woman. And so a lot of these women here, Miriam, for instance, she has 3 kids. Her husband's gone to another island. And I think it was really encouraging to have other Christians come in and show them that, you are loved.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Lavender there on the end, the girl in the pink shirt on the left, she was a child bride from Papua New Guinea. So a lot of these girls are still bought, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just good to show that there's still love out there.
Yeah, and lots of places like this, before the gospel comes and starts changing people's lives, they're, dangerous. It's dangerous for women to go walk into their garden, So the more the gospel is spread, the safer places are, and it's very important. Yeah.
You mentioned food a couple of times. Is there food insecurity there?
Not really, but so for people that live on an island, you would think they would be good at fishing, but they're not. So fish is really special. And then like these places, and no one has a vehicle. So these folks in particular, they only have meat once in a while. And it's, when we were able to bring fish or different food and supplies, it kind of opened them up to be more receptive, take something from them.
They have electricity, refrigeration, nothing?
No, that's why we'd freeze the fish and bring them. And then when we bring the fish, they start hacking it up and they spread it to everyone in the village. Everyone got some.
They have women machetes, and a lot of the women travel with them for safety. And but they usually only eat from their gardens. But their gardens are not near their homes, like here.
They're usually a few miles away.
Miles away, the women have to travel in groups because in those areas where Christ is new, men are still. How to say it. So I know that the Santa Bush Mission has been working with them for teaching them and showing that, we're supposed to love our wives.
Next slide, Caleb. So everywhere we went, we tried to take the time. There's different times where we were in a hurry or trying to get back home because the kids are crazy and need a nap. But everywhere we went, we would stop and talk to people, and just the fact that you're taking time to talk with them and tell stories and whatnot, they really enjoy that. They very relational. So we were able to share with a lot of people. We told you guys before, one of the things that we're doing is giving out SD cards that have micro SD. Everyone has a phone. So even though there's no power, everyone has a phone. And they, when they can charge it, they watch their phone pretty much all day if they're not doing something. So the SD cards have different translations of the Bible on there, audio Bible, sermons and music and different videos. Everything is good and clean, and God-centered. So we didn't keep track exactly, but we probably gave out 1,000 cards, SD cards, while we were there. If people see that you're giving something away, they just flock you, and they all want one. So a lot of distribution of the gospel via the SD cards while we were there. Next slide, and it might be the last one if there's one. No. So, questions? Yeah?
Did the majority of the people there speak English or understand English?
If they've gone to school, they can usually understand and speak it a little bit. And their trade language is pretty easy, so I was able to speak it pretty well. Caitlin started learning it while we were there. But for the most part, yeah, we could communicate with them pretty easily. And more, schools are being built, and kids to be educated. So that's why we went to as many schools as we could, and lots of little schools. Mm-hmm.
Do they have a government there?
Yeah, there is a government, and it's a lot different than here. So one of the things about Vanuatu is they have more holidays than any other country, and they're proud of it. So if you're trying to do anything government related, so if someone has a vacation or a holiday coming up, they might be gone an extra month or two, and it's no big deal. It's normal. So not kind of the last photo when we were in Sele, that was the furthest in we could get, and that's where there's still people wearing no clothes but a loincloth. And I don't think Vanuatu had as bad cannibalism as Papua New Guinea, but that would be the closest to it, where they still weren't as reached by the gospel. But the lot, yeah.
Also, a lot of snakes.
I didn't see a single snake. No.
They tried to do a trip to Big Bay too, which is only accessible by boat, but by the time, it's really hard to coordinate things with people there. You have to go through the right channels to be respectful, and who owns what land, and by the time they finally got something kind of concrete, the weather had gotten so bad that there was rain warnings, and there was just no way to take the boat. But we left a bag of the stuff that we bought for the village there and all the materials. And so when Mom and Dad go back in 3 months, he's gonna try to take that stuff over there. Are you guys going back?
Not unless God tells us to. We're glad to be home, and I'm glad that we were able to do that, and it was a good experience. And I think most Americans, it's hard to appreciate what you have until you go somewhere where you don't have as much. I was sure glad to come back home to my single wide trailer. So, God bless America.
You said there's vacations and stuff. What kind of work do they do?
Holidays, but I'm sure they do vacation. The main industry there is copra and kava. It's coconuts. Copra is coconuts. So most people, if they have a garden, they take their produce to a little stand like that, and they might make a few dollars a day just selling produce. But probably the main way that most people make a living is working at a coconut plantation, where they pick up the coconuts, and they have to use a special tool to get the meat out, and then they take it to a big hut that has a big oven in it, and it heats it up and kind of halfway bakes it, and then it's put on trucks and then taken to where they ship it worldwide for different, coconut products.
The culture isn't really including those some of the hard things, the Americans wanting, the cost of work, we change things, make things better, and they're okay with living in their hut that's been there for forever, that's dirt. And so I think playing with gifts and stuff shows the ones that love.
Did you encounter people that were not receptive to Christianity?
No, not really. We kind of expected that we might run into that at some of the places, especially more in the middle of the island, but no, people were really kind and receptive, and the fact that we brought things to give, I think that's a big thing to them. One thing, I haven't experienced it, but I've heard that sometimes they will think that white people come to take things, and they've even said, take our language. They think that white folks coming into better situations takes their culture away. So the fact that we came with gifts and giving things, they were very excited and open. Yeah, schools. Yep, there's lots of schools. The closer to a road, the more, I'm not going to say modern because nothing's modern there, but there's schools even in the middle of the bush, but they're usually built by someone like the Santo Bush Mission that goes out and builds churches and schools. But we were able to bless all the school teachers that we came across with the King of Glory curriculum, which is the Bible in lots of short, easy lessons with pictures, and they can give the kids a page to color and whatnot. So, there's lots of schools, about one every mile or two because they're small.
Jonathan, I get the impression that they really don't want things to change, but they do want their children to be taught.
Mm-hmm.
What do they want their children to be taught then? If it's not to increase, change, make smarter or something?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know. I think they just want their kids to have an education to learn English, and French is another influence there, so lots of people know French. And probably jobs, if a kid goes through the, elementary school or whatever, the young school, then lots of times their family will pay for them to fly out to, or go on a boat to the capital island, and then they can do further schooling. So that's something I heard quite a bit from different people talking about their kid, went to Port Vila to further schooling. So the older folks, I'd say the ones that don't want to see change, but kind of naturally, like anything, the younger generation is accepting to the newer technology and all the newer stuff. So things are changing, but hopefully the gospel will be an influence that keeps them Christ-centered.
What was your biggest takeaway from the whole experience?
Well, I grew up a missionary kid, and so I really appreciate being home in America with some stability. But so I got to see this too. But I think for Caitlin, it'd be the life of a missionary is tough, and it's not always very fun. And so praying for, supporting, and being a part of missionaries is important. And especially having kids now, man, I really respect missionaries that are out in the missionary field with a family. It's a lot. So I think that's it,
What is their housing like? Do they live in huts like that, or do they have?
Yeah, that'd be pretty close. That's a market stand, but put some bamboo walls on that, and that'd be a house. Yeah.
They have
No, there's rainwater. So it rains a lot. So rainwater is the main water source. They have a tank, and they gutter the water in there, and toilets, stuff like that. They have a outhouse basically. So, but they're fine with it. Like Caitlin said, it's rare to see someone that improves. We did meet someone, and he didn't get on the slides, but one of the families in a different village, John Luke, he's a pretty cool guy, and he built a concrete house, and he built a separate house for their kitchen, cookhouse, and very ambitious young guy. He's someone that we really enjoyed meeting and being with their family. But it's pretty rare that someone wants to improve. And it's just different culture. As long as you can go out to your garden and get some food once in a while, that's all you need to do. So, in a way, life is easy for them.
What about their teeth? Are their teeth in good shape?
No, that's something we saw a lot. Even little tiny kids will have a bunch of teeth missing and a bunch, visibly rotten. So that was kind of sad.
That's one of the things the money went to, was replacement tooth markers to a lot of these villages, especially Darlea has had all those children. We've got little tooth markers for kids. Oh, and a lot of antibacterial stuff that we gave them. The reason why the bandages, a lot of that money went towards that, because I guess the new kids with like ulcers need food. So antibacterial soaps, those kinds of things went to these places. Feminine care products, because that's not really a thing. So
No doctors there?
There's a hospital in the city. So where we lived, it was about 45 minutes to get to town. There's a hospital there. And then a few places, maybe one of the bigger villages on the very past us where we lived, there I think was a medical center. And then Santo Bush Mission made the birthing center, which is also a medical center at Sele in the middle of the island. So there is places where they can, go, but yeah.
all the medical centers were put in by Christians that I know of, because otherwise the people resort to, well, I don't know what they're called there.
Witch doctors, basically. Yeah.
Jonathan, does your mom minister to the women there? Do they do Bible study or anything like that?
No, not Bible study. Where they live is quite a ways out from other people. It's maybe over a mile from your next neighbor. But the people that we saw on the first slide, closest neighbors, and lots of other surrounding people, they'll just come and visit. Like I said, no one has a vehicle, so walking a few miles, walking 10 miles for them, that's just an everyday thing. So they walk up a lot to visit or whatnot, and so Mom does do stuff with the women, but it's kind of more in a remote setting.
What's our mom's job there? I'll just say this, because a lot of people ask what she does. When you live like that, it's work all the time. Nothing can be left dirty, no dishes, nothing. You'll get sandpaper in your house. All the laundry needs done continuously.
Everything molds.
Molding and like all these things. So mom is working 24/7 just to support dad, or like in this case us, along with watching the kids, so that we can go out to places that aren't easily reached. And so she works really hard. It's just a behind the scenes kind of work.
Your dad is always out walking or doing sports like with the kids?
He does hike, but he has dirt bikes, which that didn't make it on the slide, but I've done it with him in the past, and we did it 2 times while we were there this time. Just take the dirt bikes out, and especially if you go by a school, they'll just tell all the kids to go outside, and everyone watches, and they get excited, and we gave the kids rides. So that's something that he does quite a bit, is he'll go around on a dirt bike, whether he has something to do or not, and it draws a crowd quite quickly, and then he'll stop and give his testimony and share the gospel. So that's something he's done a lot in the past, and we did it a little bit while we were there. But he has a pickup too, so if you have to go to town, we go in the vehicle.
How much does he get for gas?
Gas was, they have mazout and benzene, gas and diesel. Gas was $2.23 a liter, so it'd be almost $10 a gallon. And diesel usually is cheaper, but it climbed up while we were there, and it was a little over $10 a gallon. So anything imported was expensive. Milk's about $10 a gallon. Butter, things like that are way more than you'd pay here. But on the flip side, anything fresh like fruit and whatnot is way cheaper than you'd get it here.
I wonder why they wouldn't build their homes, their huts close to the garden. You said it was not close, it was a couple miles away.
Yeah.
Pigs getting in the garden. There's wild pigs. And they're really aggressive. But it's probably
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Usually a certain village will have land miles away that is kind of the village's land for gardens. So I'm not sure why, but like I said, it's normal for them to walk miles. It's nothing. So they, it's just a normal thing. No big deal.
Do they fence in their gardens for the pigs?
Yeah, lots of times they do. Stuff like fencing is expensive, but they'll use it a little bit. But things grow like crazy there, so they literally will take a certain kind of tree, chop the branches off, stick the branch in the ground, and it starts growing. So most of the fences there are growing trees that they just keep trimming so it looks like a fence. And then after a year, it's thick enough nothing can get through.
How do they control the pig population?
They hunt them to a degree, if they can. I know they have bow and arrow and stuff like that. I didn't really see anyone with those, but I saw probably maybe 8 different people that had a 22. So it's not like America with that type of freedom, but there are people that have guns, and most people that have a 22, they hunt pigs or wild cows and stuff, and yeah, everything goes wild there. So if cows get out, they become wild and for their free game. Ben likes the idea of that. Well, so the older folks, the more traditional people, they believe in spirits and appeasing the spirits. So they're animistic. They believe there's spirits over all sorts of different stuff, spirits over the water and weather and whatnot. But as the gospel spreads, people are pretty open to the gospel. And so I'd say the main thing as far as religion goes there is they have kind of become divided, where there's Seventh-day Adventists and Presbyterians and then AOG. But trying to think of how to explain it. Instead of realizing that we're all worshiping God, they kind of segregate, and it's more of a dispute, I guess. I don't know. So when we were there, they almost always ask you, "What church are you?" And we would say, "We're here to support the churches. We believe in Jesus. We're Christians, and we're here to worship God and help you guys worship God." But they always want to know, who you're coming from. Is it Presbyterian or Assembly of God or Seventh-day Adventist or whatever?
So that the younger generation is
Um,
asking those kinds of questions more than the elderly?
Pretty much everyone except for the old folks. Yeah.
I would say, one, that's because they're tribal people, and so they're very like, whose tribe are you from, who owns what land, that's just part of their culture. And then I think also because they're grown up around ritualistic, like appeasing the different spirits, they kind of view church in that same way, where
Okay.
Big divide amongst the Protestants and other
Denominations, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so on their currency, kind of like America, they say, "In God we stand up." So they do consider themselves a Christian nation. Yeah,
We do have a huge tourism.
yeah,
It
that's
looks like the government is sustaining tourism.
that's one of the main incomes for sure.
You know, my sister did a lot of time in Fiji, and so
Okay.
it might be very similar
Yeah,
to how Fiji is. Fiji has a large amount of income to their government through their tourism bureau, but tourism doesn't occupy large sectors of land
yeah,
in Fiji.
yeah.
So it may be something similar to that.
Mhm.
Thank you, John, for
Yeah,
bringing that up. I know that's not your most
yeah.
fun that you do, and thank you guys for going.
Again, thank you everyone for praying for us and supporting us. May you all blessing to all the people we are blessed.
In your name we pray. Amen.